Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy, and we're about as ready for this podcast for adjusting all our equipment here. Anyway, I was going to say as ready as the Oilers were, but the Oilers were ready for this game. It was just that was a very hard fought, fierce game. The Oilers lose 4-1, lost 2 in a row to the Florida Panthers. And they come home, Bruce, to Edmonton with having the Panthers right where they want them. So this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast because it's a tough Oilers loss. We'll go with 2 bad things each. What's your good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, well, I'll go with the goal, and in fact, I'll go with the whole sequence where the Oilers, after being fairly outplayed in the first part of the game and outshot 6-0 through it was a better part of 10 minutes, and then Warren Foegele got whistled for a kneeing penalty that they deemed was a 5-minute major in a game misconduct, and things looked pretty dire. You know, getting outshot to that extreme. Mind you, most of the Florida shots were from 60 feet, but the fact was Edmonton was generating nothing, and now Florida's got a 5-minute power play, and of course no limit if they score a goal. They still get the whole 5-minute power play. And some good things happened there. The Oilers did some good penalty killing. And then Matthias Janmark drew a 2-minute penalty with a nice move in the neutral zone that forced the guy to haul him down, and that cut the 5-minute penalty into 2 more manageable bits that added up to 3 minutes, and it made it doable. And it was like 1 minute and 27 seconds, and then after that guy got out of the box, it would have been another 1 minute and 23 seconds. So it was almost an even split. Anyway, during the 4-on-4 was the good thing, where there was a sequence where Evan Bouchard made a stop down in Edmonton territory, and Connor McDavid recovered the rebound and was able to get a pass just into the lane where Matthias Ekholm could pick it up. It was actually a little bit behind him, but he did a good job. He burst away 2-on-1 with Draisaitl, and used Draisaitl as a decoy, and fired a shot that beat the unbeatable Sergei Bobrovsky through the 5-hole there, where apparently he never allows any goals. Well, he did in this play. And in part, and I think the broadcast team nailed it, it was because he hadn't faced a shot in 11 and a half minutes of game time and something like 26 minutes of running time, real time, since the game started. He never saw a shot, and then all of a sudden he gets a 2-on-1, and of course he's thinking that Ekholm's going to pass to Draisaitl, because surely everyone's thinking that, and Ek did the right thing, let fly, and found a hole. And so that made it 1-0, and then of course they then still had to kill the remaining sort of 90 seconds at the other end of the 5-minute penalty. And at the end of all that, they came out of it with a 1-0 lead, which when Foegele went in the box or went off, I was thinking, almost best case scenario, they're going to be down 1-0 after these 5 minutes are up.
Yeah.
And they're up 1-0 and gave themselves a fighting chance. In fact, they held that lead almost to the halfway point of the game, but were never able to build on it.
No. I thought the Oilers were going to win this game, Bruce. I had a good feeling through the game, and I was incorrect. But that was a hell of a play. I really liked McDavid's play in his own zone with tremendous composure. The Oilers have been throwing the puck around a little bit at the start of the game. They had been hemmed in. They had yet to experience any grade A shots against, though, I might add. At that point, it was, I believe, the first grade A shot of the game. But there were some tricky saves for Stuart Skinner to make through traffic. And so, for McDavid to show that again, what you expect from him, the best puck handler in the NHL, get the puck in his own zone, just make a smart
puck protection play and send Ekholm off to the races. So that was and good for Ekholm for shooting that puck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a weak goal by Bobrovsky. It was a 2-on-1, so you have to. That's a grade A shot,
Yeah, absolutely.
but it's still one
Goalie's got, you
him to
expect him to
stop.
stop.
You expect him to stop that. Bruce, um, I want to just you brought up the Fogle play, and I'll just deal with this right now. The we're Oiler fans, right? So we're going to have a certain take on this game, but I do want to point out that the commentators in this game were noticing the refs throughout the game and not in a good way. And here's what Kevin Bieksa of Sportsnet said. And Kevin Bieksa is no lover of the Edmonton Oilers, I can assure you. And here's what he says, quote, "I wouldn't call that a 5 in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. It is a knee, but it's a 2-minute penalty. I do think Luostarinen is trying to avoid him, so he's kind of part of it. Luostarinen, he's on the ice for a bit. He's also out for the next shift. I don't know if it's a sell job or not." And which I would add, narrator, it's a sell job. Which is smart hockey on the part of the Florida Panthers player. I saw that Bruce's Fogel's going for the puck.
Yeah.
He's straight on the puck, and there's a collision, and it was knee on knee. I think it was a penalty on Fogle, but it's a 2-minute penalty because he is going right for the puck, not for the knee, as far as I can tell. So I didn't like the call either, but we'll get into this a little bit more. A good thing, Bruce, is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in defeat. And I just was, I graded the game. I gave McDavid an 8 and Draisaitl a 4. And here's what Leon Draisaitl had to say. He was pretty much, he and his line were pretty much shut down at even strength. They got very little going on. And Leon himself just, I don't know if he's in, we know he did get injured early in the playoffs, and he just didn't seem to have a lot of get up and go in this game. But here's what Leon said, quote, "We can certainly be better. It starts with me. I can only speak for myself. I have a lot more to give. Not my best tonight. I'm owning that." First, that is exactly what you want your assistant captain to say after a tough loss where he has not played well, for him to own up to it. And it's really encouraging, because when someone does that, I think it's a real signal that they're going to dig in and do better. And as far as McDavid goes, I mean, Florida employed just a very interesting strategy against McDavid, which was the death by 1,000 slashes strategy. And every time he had the puck, he is getting pelted with slashes. Whack, whack, whack. It's just ongoing. So he had everything to be complaining about, I think, in that game. And it continued. I'm getting ahead on my bad thing, but I've got plenty of ammo on this one. Right to the final, he had a breakaway with 6 minutes left, 7 minutes left. And Tkachuk, 3 slashes, one right between his legs, no call. I mean, he's earned this breakaway. Philip Broberg has made a great play, setting him in on the breakaway. He is in clear. He deserves his breakaway. He does not deserve to be fouled. And the Oilers need this if they're going to come back in the game. I think it was still 2-1 then, if I'm not mistaken.
It was 3-1.
It was 3-1. So it's the last gasp thing. How is that not a penalty?
I was expecting they would call it with the nice safe lead, but
yeah.
Nope.
And anyway, so here's what McDavid didn't complain about it. He was asked about that breakaway. He didn't complain about what happened. Here's what he said about going back to Edmonton. He says, "It's exciting. It's another opportunity to come together and to dig our way out. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. And I'm excited to see what our group is made of. I'm excited to see our group come together. I'm excited to see us fight through adversity. I'm looking forward to people doubting us again. We're good with our backs against the wall." So that is even a better statement from Connor McDavid. That's the perfect thing to say. I don't think this series is over, Bruce. These two games have been exceedingly close, exceptionally close, like most of the playoff series. If there was justice, there isn't in hockey, so I'm not going to complain. It could be 1-1, but that's the way it goes. Bobrovsky played outstanding hockey in that first game. But there could have been a little bit more justice from the refs and in this one, and might have changed things. But McDavid had that is the stoic attitude that you need to win in hockey. He's embodying it right now. And I see it in the whole team. I saw it in Knoblauch's comm after the game. I was really impressed by him as well. I think the Oilers, Dallas did it in the first series against Vegas. They lost the first two games, and then they won the next four. I still think the Oilers
Four of
have
the last five, but yeah, they came
four of the
back
last
to
five.
win.
Excuse me. Yeah.
They lost the
I
first
think-
two games at home, came back to.
Wow. Yeah. I think the Oilers can do it. I think they can come back. And I'll be at game 3, which is, obviously a must win. They got to win that. So, Bruce, your first bad thing.
Yeah. First bad thing. I remember my second bad thing, so I'll start with that.
Okay.
Maybe I'll remember my first bad thing.
It was the injuries.
Oh yeah.
and the-
Okay,
and
the short
the-
bench.
Yeah, the short bench.
The short bench. Yeah, Edmonton was down a forward and down a defenseman before the game was, basically halfway through the first period, when Warren Fogle got the heave-ho 5 for kneeing and a game misconduct after he played all of 1 minute and 54 seconds of ice time out of the first 9 minutes, which is, normal, quarter of the ice time. But then around the same time, Darnell Nurse went down. Talked earlier, just after the 5-minute mark of the first period, he took a hit in the corner from Evan Rodriguez, and I never got that good of a look at it. That, like, what the hell exactly happened to him? It was not
he
an
got
egregious
crunched.
hit, but anyway, something
He
happened.
got crunched, Bruce.
And he came out of the game. He went down the tunnel. He came back. He took one shift for 13 seconds. He went down the tunnel again. Came out to start the second period. Took the pre-period skate. Went down the tunnel again. At this point, I'm convinced he's done for the night. But he shows up again on the bench, and mostly he operates the player's gate. But he does play one shift in the second period and 2 shifts in the third. So it's not like they were quite down to 5 defensemen. They had like 5.1 defensemen for the last 55 minutes of this game. And that takes a toll. Evan Bouchard, 30 minutes and 40 seconds. T.S. Ekholm, 24 minutes, 54 seconds. Those guys are logging the heavy minutes, and they would be anyway, but that's even more than you would expect. And I saw mistakes of possibly, just exhaustion or, the end of a long, hard night. Bouchard's turnover on the 2-1 goal was a pretty critical play in the course of things. And the guys dug in and they played, I thought, all right, the D-men, but it wasn't like the coaches went with an 11-7 tonight. They tried to go with a 12-6 and they wound up with an 11-5, which is the worst of all worlds. And I do think that took a toll, and there was not as much juice left in the team down the stretch of this game.
I think Bouchard in the third period kind of fell apart, and he played 30 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe. So, what goes when players are playing that much is their decision-making capacity, and I thought we saw that fade away for Evan Bouchard, who had a pretty rough third period. My first bad thing is actually, I think, let me just check here. It's the second goal, and yeah, he's involved in that. And it starts with McLeod. He has a fairly difficult play on the boards in his own zone, and he can't get it out. It would have been good if he found a way to win the battle and get it out, Ryan McLeod. Like, this has been a tough playoff year for Ryan McLeod. so much so that I'm starting to wonder about his future with the team, honestly, because he has struggled. And anyway, he can still redeem himself. We'll see what happens next. He doesn't get the puck out. The puck goes around and it comes out to the slot area. And Bouchard then gets it, and he has an easy clearance pass to make or just get it out, and he flubs it. He just puts it right on the stick of Evan Rodriguez, a player that I've always admired. And Rodriguez whips it in through a screen by Ryan McLeod. And I think it also is deflected in off Ryan McLeod. It goes off McLeod.
It changed direction about an
Yeah,
inch.
it did. And that was enough to beat Skinner on the play. So that was just that's the 2-1 goal.
Game winner.
That's fatigue. I'm saying little fatigue on Bouchard. Not enough bearing down by both those players, and that's how the game ends. That's the game winner.
Yeah, I'll go with the 3-1.
Okay.
That's my second bad thing. This was the penalty kill finally getting pierced after 34.98 successful kills. And just as Chris Cuthbert is saying, if they can survive another 10 seconds, it'll be 35 in a row. Anyway, what's happened is the puck's gone up in the ice, and the Oilers have already changed out their defensemen and put out Bouchard and Kulak, who frequently for this team have been their post penalty kill pairing, because usually neither guy plays on the penalty kill, and whereas Ekholm plays a lot, and of course the other D-men. Well, with Nurse out of this game and Cece in the press box, the mix of penalty killers was messed up already, but Bouchard's not normally out there. Anyway, he and Kulak were out anticipating the big shift with the Glimmer twins, after the penalty kill. And instead, Dallas comes in on a fairly innocuous looking rush. And first, Bouchard gets beaten along the sideboards, and then Kulak decides he needs to come over and take the guy with the puck along the boards. Exact same mistake that Nurse made in the last game, and Cece on the first goal in the last game, going all the way to the boards to challenge the guy with the puck and leaving the goal scorer alone in front of the net. And the guy whipped if you're going to go over there, then you better break up the pass. Well, he didn't do that either, and the pass got whipped across, and Evan Rodriguez was in front, and he was able to deflect it past Skinner with 4 seconds left in that penalty to make it 3-1. And that was all she wrote. You knew that the Oilers were very unlikely to get 2 goals in the closing stages, and in fact, I couldn't even get 1.
Yeah, in the game, they had 8 grade A shots, and Panthers had 9. The Oilers had 1 5-alarm shot, Bruce, 1. And that's McDavid's breakaway, where he was, hooked into near submission. And and then the Panthers had 4 5-alarm shots. So
that would have been one of them, that Rodriguez goal, the second one.
Yeah, I think so.
He tipped it from right in front.
Yeah, it was. Just wait. I might have missed one here because my coding was off. There's a lot going on in a game when I'm recording the scoring chances. And yes, they had 5 5-alarm shots. So I thought Skinner wasn't that bad this game. I didn't love him on the first goal against. I thought he might have been a little bit on the wrong side of his net. That's why it went in, but that was a tough shot too. Bruce, I've mentioned the refs a couple times, so I'm just going to mention the most. I think they did miss calls on both teams. Luke Gazdic made that point after the game. There was a call on Connor Brown that was a pretty iffy penalty, as I recall, for the Panthers. But the Oilers had a power play in the second period. And I think it's Luostarinen again, and he's inside the Florida blue line. Oh, it's Stenlin, excuse me. Yeah. And he shoots the puck over the glass. It should be a 5-on-3 for about 1:40. And the refs just missed it. They blew the call, and they huddled up, and they decided they didn't see that. And Maybe they didn't. It was his
Close
stick
to the
is.
blue line, but he
It
didn't
was
get
close.
it
Does it
out
have to
over
be?
the blue line.
Does it have to be if it's? Is it
It ca-
over the blue line if
It has to be
it's?
out of the zone, so he didn't get it out of the zone.
Okay,
He
where does
shot
the
it.
zone start? Like, is the zone start of which end of the blue line is what I'm
If
wondering.
you're
Like,
getting
if
it out, it's the back edge. If you're getting it in, it's the front edge.
so, it wasn't close then.
Yeah,
Actually,
no,
to
no,
being it
he
was.
might
This
have got
is
it just to the bottom edge of the blue line, but he didn't get it
yeah.
over the
Okay,
blue line. So he technically still had the puck in his own zone.
okay. To get it
And he
out, you have.
skied
That's
it
right.
into the stands, and all four refs missed it. And here's the one rule in the book where they're talking about uh, the refs have no discretion, right? They have discretion not to call 3 slashes on a breakaway, but they don't have the discretion not to call puck over glass. I mean, this is how the NHL works, right? That's the sin of all sins is shooting the puck over the glass, unless it's third period, or Stanley Cup
Second period.
Finals, and it's a 1-1 game, and the team's already got a power play, and it's going to make a 5-on-3, and then all four. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, did you see that? I didn't see it. Oh,
You
well.
know, even Knobloch,
Five
a
on
ref.
three for a minute 46.
It was a
That
play
was
so
big.
yeah, a play so egregious that even Chris Knobloch lost his
Lost it.
cookies, lost his mind on the bench momentarily. He was so
Mhm.
mad. It was Bruce. It's a terrible mistake and
Yep.
a very consequential one.
Yep.
So on top of the Fogle call, on top of the constant hacking on McDavid, which is really off. Like, I just think it's awful that they allow that on their star player to get hacked. Stars in this league just get constantly whacked. And I don't say. I mean, I'm sure Edmonton does it as well. But when you do have the best player, it's a very effective tactic to not make him the best player, and that's what Florida did. They didn't. They avoided penalty calls on those constant slashes, including on that breakaway. Add it all up, and that was an F for the refs in this game, and not their best night.
Well, 45 minutes and penalties to 12, David. That seems close, eh? Almost the same.
Well, that's a little
my issue
bit
was that there
distorted.
was, yeah, I know, so 3 misconducts in there on Edmonton and none at all on Florida. My issue was that there were several controversial calls in this game, and all of them went to Florida,
Yeah,
right? I
fair enough,
mean,
Bruce.
Sam Bennett went knee on knee with Evan Bouchard in the early going. That was just as obvious and more clearly targeted than the one that Fogle threw it on. And I agree, Fogle deserved a penalty for that. But Bennett, for going after Bouchard's knee, he got 2 minutes, and Fogle got 5. And explain that to me. Then they missed the blatant puck over glass, 2-man advantage, which was huge. And there was the penalty they called on Leon, and I do think it was a penalty, but they didn't call it. They didn't call a penalty. And then they had another one of their little confabs, and then somehow out of that they decided, well, one of us must have seen a penalty. Linesmen are not allowed to call minor penalties. They can call double minors and majors. So if a linesman called it, that's wrong. Anyway, neither arm was up in the air, but at the end of it all, Leon was in the box, and of course that's the one they scored on to make it 3-1. And then you have the one that got your goat of Kachuk chopping away at McDavid on his breakaway over and over again, and somehow all of those slashes were clean. And
A clean slash. It's an interesting
yeah,
concept.
wow.
Yeah.
Bennett
Yeah.
and Kachuk are they play out on the edges of the rules all the time. You'd think NHL referees, especially the best ones in the league that made the Stanley Cup Finals, might be aware of the fact that these guys are out on the edges of the rules and maybe call the odd one on them. But anyway, that's my rant. You carry on with yours. You did a good job on it in the grades post. And we'll be called whiners in Edmonton, but I think if you just look at the things that happened in this game, look at the controversial calls and look who was the beneficiary of those calls.
You know what, Bruce? I wanted to. I wrote it as strongly as I could, and I quoted a lot of the Sportsnet people because I know that we're not impartial. They are, because I think there's a chance that an article like that could be seen by the NHL, and I wanted to get it out first, early, right away after the game, so it goes to the top of Google, so it gets a lot of attention, and hopefully it will get some attention, because I know the Oilers they're not complainers. I don't know if Knobloch said anything about it. I didn't hear anyone else complaining about the refs. So it's not going to happen, but that was really iffy, to be kind. That was iffy. As you say, all the big consequential and controversial calls went against the Oilers. So was that the first time you've seen Knobloch explode on the bench all year like that?
There may have, I think that was the most explosive.
Yeah.
He looked at the replay and he just started screaming because he saw the puck didn't come out.
I'm going to just
But none of
that.
the 4 referees did. 4 officials. All of whom are allowed to call that minor penalty, by the way. That's,
even the linesman.
Yeah, they didn't see it either. They watched the blue line all game, but they didn't see that.
All right, where are we? We've done
State of frustration is where we are at the moment.
It's hockey, man. You know what? And I do want to make this point. The Oilers still could have won that game if they had been a better team, and if Florida if they had been able to score on the power play, capitalize. Now Knobloch said they hit 3 posts, and I remember a couple of them. You know, Nuge
and Nugent Hopkins. One Nuge hit off the crossbar.
I don't remember the third one. What was the third one? What was the third one? I just remember the 2. Maybe Draisaitl hit one on one of his one-timers. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the Oilers had their chances to win this game, and they just couldn't get it done. And we're at our numbers, and I'll just segue into my number, Bruce.
Okay.
8 grade A shots doesn't cut it. And when Connor McDavid was in on 7 of them, Bruce. So outside of Connor McDavid, there was nothing much going on the attack for the Edmonton Oilers. And I understand that a lot of the players are playing injured, like Kane and probably Draisaitl and many others, but they need more. They need more from Ryan McLeod. They need more from Adam Henrique. They need just a better effort from a lot of these players and on the attack. And it wasn't there. They're not able to, weren't able to fight through the disciplined, fierce Florida defense, which is within the realm of how the NHL calls the plays, a state-of-the-art defense in the Stanley Cup Finals. If that's the rules, if that's the way the game is called, they're playing it to perfection. They are on the edge of serious fouling all the time, penalized all the time, but they seldom go over that edge. Their slashes aren't generally on the hands. They're just constant. But they're not getting called, and it's for a reason. They're not getting in on the hands that much. Although I do recall their top defenseman Forsling absolutely grabbing Hyman as he's going to the net in the first period.
Penalty. Put an arm and he grabbed him. I thought he grabbed him by the cup, to be honest with you. He stuck his hand right into the midsection and twisted him around.
Another obvious penalty anyway. But Florida really is a state-of-the-art defensive hockey team. And they cash in the chances that they get. They're finishing, and the Oilers aren't finishing. So there's that. So that was my number. 7 out of 8 by McDavid. Come on. Leon Draisaitl's line's got to get going. Ryan McLeod's line's got to get going. They got to get more out of the second and third lines, and they got to figure out a way to do that. And we'll talk about that in a second. What's your number?
My number is 9, and I have a double application for this number. First of all, it is the number of Oilers forwards who had 0 shots on net in this game. 9 forwards with 0 shots on net. Let's name them. Matthias Janmark, 0 shot attempts. Adam Henrique, 0 shot attempts. Connor Brown, 0 shots, though he did have a couple of attempts. Warren Fogle, well, we know about that. 0 shot attempts. Sam Carrick, 0 shot attempts. Dylan Holloway, 0 shots, 1 attempt. Ryan McLeod, 0 shot attempts. Evander Kane, 0 shot attempts for the second game in a row. 0 shot attempts from Evander Kane. And finally, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 0 shots, 2 attempts, one of which, of course, hit the crossbar. 9 forwards that couldn't get a shot. The only ones that did David 3, Draisaitl 2, and Hyman 1. And where's the rest of them?
Nuge passed up a shot early.
Yeah, they all did.
You know,
Shoot
that
the
first
friggin'
power
puck.
play, Bruce, set a bad standard for the Oilers.
Yeah.
Bouchard had his chance to drill it early, and he didn't. And after that, it just went downhill from there. They Nuge passed up just an open net shot, as far as I could tell at one point. I can't remember on which power play that was, but it was shoot.
That was originally going to be my bad thing, because that was when after Bennett got Bouchard, and I was saying to my wife right at the time, they got to score on this one. They have to make him pay for that, because otherwise they're going to just keep running around doing that kind of crap. And not only did they not make him pay for it, they didn't come even remotely close to doing it, and they just fumbled around with it. And was that the one where they gave up basically the 2-on-1 with the guy alone in front? Anyway, the power play had its struggles tonight.
Which that Nuge?
Well, Edmonton, there was one power play where the guy was, I think it was Louis Sterainen or maybe it was Lundell, that Skinner couldn't go out to play the puck because it was in the forbidden zone. And Bush kind of lollygagged back towards the puck, and then nobody took the guy in the slot. And
Leon didn't.
He almost scored.
That was Bennett who almost scored on that one, I think. He just missed the net. Yeah, thank goodness he missed the net.
Yeah. Anyway, the power play just did not have its stuff together in the first part of the game. And then when they did have a good power play, they kept, ringing the iron.
Yeah, they had the one power play that was good with 3 grade A shots. And
the rest of my 9, the Oilers have now played 9 games in a row where they haven't scored a real goal in the third period. Right? In the last 9 third periods, they've been outscored 13-1. 13-1, which includes 4 empty net goals for the other guys, because, of course, these are all third periods, and 1 empty net goal for the Oilers. The Oilers haven't actually beaten a goalie in the third period since Game 6 of the Vancouver series, when they won 5-1, and they got a couple in the third to put that game away. And since then, some of the games they had a lead and they didn't need to score again, like in Vancouver in Game 7, they were up 3-0 and hung on to win 3-2. And the last 2 games of the Dallas series where they were hanging on, but there's not been a sniff, not a sign, not a scintilla of offense from the Edmonton Oilers, potent offensive team, in the third period for 9 games in a row. Nothing. That's like, if you lined all those periods up, that's like going out and getting shut out one game, getting shut out the next game, then getting shut out again in a third game, a triple shutout. Like, come on, put the frickin' biscuit in the basket.
That's a very discouraging stat, Bruce. Thank you.
It is very discouraging. 13-1 in the third period. I mean, it's not like that's an important time of the game or anything.
It's almost.
Apparently, they're 0-5 when they're tied. When they've been tied after the second period in the playoffs, 0-5. So the third period blues have been real and spectacular, and they're getting worse.
It's almost as discouraging as 9 forwards not getting a shot. It's actually more discouraging.
Take your pick. 9 is not a happy number tonight.
That was
a number.
That was a good spot by you. That is super, super not good. All right, the conundrum. Can they turn it around? How can they turn it around? Can they turn it around? How can they turn it around? Think we'll see Sam? Do you think we'll see Sam Gagner, Bruce, in Game 3? I think there's a non-zero chance we will. They need a scorer. They need someone to come in there and score. And as we know, when he comes back, he will score in his first game back. So maybe we will. What do you say? What do they need to do?
They got to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
When they get back to Edmonton. I don't know if they're traveling tonight or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, because that's why they built in this extra day into the finals. So they'll be getting their sleep now. They looked a tired team tonight, and of course they're way more beat up than Florida, which is a real concern at this point. But they have, down the lineup, a few too many under to non-performers. And how many options do you have? I mean, Corey Perry was already sitting in the press box for reasons that we discussed in this morning's podcast. And they brought in Sam Carrick, who came out with, he did well in the face-off dot, which is the only Oiler in the first 2 games, eight wins, 4 losses. So actually, successful in the dot, but 0 shot attempts, and then a
So they
kind
Derek
of ugly
Ryan,
penalty at the end of the game. Derek Ryan will be in there, I
is
think.
he hurt? No, he's practicing. I don't know why he hasn't
Yeah.
been playing, honestly, the first 2 games. Like,
Well,
he's always given them energy, I think, even though I know he only has the 1 assist, but
I think he'll be in there in game 3.
I think
And he's
Gagner and him.
one of the guys, and it's very possible that this might be the time to look for that spark. But Gagner's been, an afterthought. Like, they don't usually mention him as being a guy that's, omitted from the lineup because they don't really treat him as if he's part of the roster
Well, who would they
when they're
take
doing the
out?
game day skates. Well,
Let's say they take out Carrick and put in Ryan,
say they
right?
take out Fogel and put in Gagner.
Well, the coach Knobloch said they missed Fogel's speed.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they take out Kane.
Kane
He's
had his
got
worst.
0 shot attempts in 2 games. Like, I know he's playing through something. He can't even sit down on the bench, but maybe it's time he sat down in the press box,
Yeah, I
because
thought
he's not getting it done.
that was his worst game of the playoffs, and he didn't get anything done. He was -3. He wasn't to
3
blame
even
except on
strength
the
goals,
last
eh?
goal. He gave up
Empty
the puck
netter.
on the boards on the empty netter, but he wasn't to blame on the other ones. So that can happen.
But it wasn't the only time he gave up the puck on the boards. I can tell you that. That's a problem for him. Usually inside his own blue line, as opposed to this one, which was inside of Florida's blue line. He really struggles with clearing passes, and
Take him out, man.
normally that's the price you pay, and you say, okay, this guy's got some flaws, he got some warts, but he's going to be physical, he's going to be in their face, he's going to be pissing guys off, he's going to be firing heavy shots, he's going to get some goals. Well, except for all those other things I listed, he's been doing like, it's just not happening for him. And
I don't know if we'll see Gagner or not. And of course, there's the question with Nurse, who looks like he's got a busted up shoulder. So, and he may have aggravated his shoulder. He really did get crunched into the boards on that play. I watched it. They showed the replay after the game, and it was.
okay, I missed that.
And he was going down walking down to the dressing room, like with his shoulder up, one shoulder up and one shoulder down. It was not.
That's never a good sign.
It was a really not. And I wonder, if part of his play is related to the fact that he's already got a bad shoulder. Yeah, so
an injury would explain what we've been seeing to a better degree than just assuming that he's not got what it takes. Like there's uncharitable interpretations. We don't know the truth. We may never probably know it, but I suspect that being less than 100% probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, so I think we'll see. We don't know with Nurse. He wanted to play, I think, tonight, and
they won't tell us.
Get back in there, and maybe we'll see Cece. It's not much of a drop off between Cece and Nurse. In fact, Cece's been playing better than Nurse these playoffs. Nurse is the common denominator of even strength woe for defense pairings on the Oilers. So if it's Cece over Nurse, that's not a drop off. That's for the Oilers. I don't know what the pairings would be then. Probably, I guess, Cece, Rolberg, Kulak to Harney, maybe. But there's not much they can do, Bruce. They just gotta. Here's one thing I'd like to see. I want to see McLeod again with Draisaitl. I think Leon works best with speed, and if they maybe put Henrique back at third line center and get McLeod and Holloway as his wings, as Draisaitl's wings. And I think that could be the recipe to get him going, unleash him a little bit. He needs their energy. He needs their speed to open space for him. And so that's one thing that we could see. I don't think we're going to see McDavid and Draisaitl together or anything like that. But Thoughts?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Florida is going to be pushing for Draisaitl to be out of the game entirely because some in that part of the world were seeing the hit that didn't draw a penalty until the consultation after the play as being, he got Barkov up high and Barkov left the game with.
Not a chance. That's rubbish. Maybe you'll get a fine. Who knows? But I mean, I just thought it was pretty marginal. Like there was lots of hard hits, and yeah, he got his elbow
Sam
up.
Bennett hit Philip Broberg in the head. I did.
Yeah. What was that chokehold that you sent me? What was that?
Ekblad on Bouchard. And he had his arm wrapped around his neck, and Bush was like tapping on him like a UFC fighter, saying, I'm out, let go before I die. And of course, he didn't let go, and Bush is like, oh. Anyway, that's fine. It's the men's league, right? Do whatever. One of the Florida fans was saying that Gregory Campbell, their assistant vice whatever, son of Colin Campbell in the NHL head office, should be contacting the league to get Draisaitl suspended. Yeah, just call the red phone in Daddy's office there, Greg. See if he answers. Yeah. Man, that is a bad look, isn't it?
That is a bad look.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, let's see. It's America, Bruce. Alrighty.
It's Canada too, David.
Canada too.
Yeah.
Well, what can you do? Like, can you say, well, you can never be an NHL manager if your dad's running the league, or maybe, I don't know. It is an obvious conflict.
It's 10 years past time for Daddy to be out to pasture.
Ain't that the truth?
Well,
this is his.
Get a 21st century type in there.
This is his NHL, right? Where the fouling is permitted. It's always been Colin Campbell's NHL, where
I remember watching him for the Oilers in 79-80. Yeah, that was his game for sure. Chop and whack and hold and rough guys up, and it can be effective, and it's very effective when they don't call any of it.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to add, or are you?
Oh, no, I think said enough for tonight's game. On to game 3 and home ice and get her done there.
Indeed. Get her done there. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.